morning. Welcome to Wake Up America Weekend. It's Easter. I'm Carl Higbee.
And I'm Erin Elmore alongside Christina Thompson. It's Sunday, April 17th, Easter Sunday. Believers also celebrating Passover and Ramadan this weekend.
Yeah, it's guys, we color coordinated this morning.
Pastels.
You didn't even know the word pastel. What did you call it?
Paddle?
Paddle.
So it started with a P. I was close.
He was very close.
But you look good doing
He's a guy. Not all guys know.
I'm more of like a Roy G. Biv guy, you know, like
Rainbow colors.
The basic colors, even RGB, maybe just three colors. That's all you need.
Primary colors, you can make any color.
Yeah.
Here are some of the stories we're following for you this morning.
All right, so thousands turn out for Easter Sunday at the Vatican. Pope Francis delivering his Easter message this morning at the first outdoor St. Peter's Square celebration since the pandemic. We're going to have a live report from there.
And special counsel John Durham reportedly saying in a court filing Friday, based upon information from Clinton campaign lawyer Michael Sussman, the CIA has concluded coordination between Donald Trump and Russia was, quote, not technically plausible. How long did that take?
The CIA was wrong. Imagine that. All right, so some breaking news out of Pittsburgh, too. 2 people right now are dead, unfortunately. Several others injured in an Easter Sunday shooting on the city's north side. We're going to have more coming up on that. But first, we're going to take a look at the scene, and police are asking residents to avoid the area. So, what an unfortunate start to the day.
I read that a lot of underage kids were there. And by the way, my family is in Pittsburgh right now, my son and husband. So we want everyone to be safe. But when it hits particularly close to home, it's really scary.
No, it really is a sad thing to bring you this morning. But meanwhile, in the States, the crime is rising everywhere pretty much right now. And Wake Up America.
Hey, good morning and happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter to you too. I wish it was under better circumstances, but you know, we are seeing these rising crime rates.
Prosecuting criminals and letting cops do their job.
And I feel like, Sergeant, that so many crimes now, unless they fit a certain narrative, no one's talking about it. And that's completely wrong. And these criminals are honestly completely indiscreet, fully emboldened. Do you think soft on crime prosecutors, lawmakers, and elected officials have contributed to the lack of fear these offenders are showing?
Well, of course they have. If you sit in jail and await your trial while after you commit an armed robbery or a rape or whatever, then why would you not continue your crime spree? And that's what we're seeing all over with these progressive prosecutors. It's never going to stop.
Yeah.
And you're talking about this living in fear, and that's how most Americans feel these days. Tourists aren't going to major cities. Residents think twice before leaving their homes, not wearing jewelry. This is no way to live. How can we stop this uncontrollable crime to better the lives of everyday citizens who just want to live their lives in peace?
One of the things that the American public really needs to do is to get loud about their desire for law and order and for their support of American law enforcement. We also need them to understand the truth. There is a false narrative out there. American law enforcement is the problem. I mean, we know that's not true.
No, it's not.
But it's a lot sexier, quite frankly, to show a video of a police officer in a fight with a suspect than it is to talk about the lengthy process that it takes to get someone through the court system and put them.
The CIA found data alleging that the Trump-Russia connection was not technically plausible and was user-created. Mark, we saw CIA Director Brennan come out and basically support this. The talking point was that 57 or 51 law enforcement agencies and intel officials endorsed this dossier. What do you make of it now?
I think Durham has been teasing out different aspects of how he sees things. It would be great if he would start to speak to this, not just in the context of this one criminal indictment.
Who's going to jail?
Well, the problem also is no one, of course. Yeah. But the problem is it's too little, too late. Just like Hunter Biden's laptop. The election has happened. Time has passed. Yeah. These things have consequences, especially when they don't happen in real time. Yeah. And from the top to the bottom, the Democrat Party is completely failing. Yep. Inflation is through the roof, crime rates are soaring, and we appear powerless in the eyes of our global adversaries. Brianna, how do you think the American people are looking at the Biden administration right now?
I think a lot of people aren't even looking. They want to keep their eyes closed. They don't want to see what's going on. I mean, it is true. I mean, you see crime rising. I know we've just heard another guest say before, talking about things like ghost guns and what the Biden administration is, tackling.
And it's a shame that the American people have to live under these circumstances because we're living with inflation soaring and gas prices. You go to the
kitchen table issues.
Yeah, the people that are voting on.
Right.
Thinking about my safety.
Right.
Am I going to be able to drive to work today? Why is the grocery store empty and costs 10 times more? And Mark, to you, I would ask you, do you think the American people are going to take these kitchen table issues to the polls with them in November?
I do. I think there'll be a swirl of other stuff, but I would have a pretty high degree of confidence that the exit polls are going to show the people, which we saw what happened when they tried that in Virginia.
Yeah.
Can't keep blaming Donald Trump.
Yeah, and that's the problem, too, is like recently the Democrats just came out and they said, oh, no, our policies aren't bad. We just did a bad job communicating them. Carl Higbee alongside Erin Elmore. Happy Easter, folks. We've all seen it. We've all enjoyed this holiday before. But as you hunt for your Easter eggs and gather with your family, it's important to remember the reason why we celebrate the holiday in the first place. And for more on this, let's bring in Newsmax contributor and former attorney to President Trump, Jenna Ellis herself. Jenna, appreciate you joining us on this Easter.
Happy Easter, Carl and Erin. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Good morning. Happy Easter to you. And now it certainly seems there's so much bad in the world today, unfortunately. We've got the war in Ukraine, a crime surge, inflation. How can people find hope in the message of Easter?
Yeah, well, the message of Easter is the literal truth of the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, who is the Son of God. And so for Christians, this is the most holy day, not just because we believe or have faith like we might believe in the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus, but because we believe in the truth as evidenced in Scripture. It's the historicity of the Bible, it's historical fact. As for the law and for truth, go back to the Bible because that is the only source of total truth.
And the Bible is so important. And when you see people that are pulling away from religion and have no religion, I always say, remember, when socialism takes over in a country, the first thing they do is tear down the churches. And that's not by accident. Because when you don't have faith in something to believe in, you believe in the government. And today isn't just about how Easter is so important. It's such a day of fun with Easter eggs and candy.
Lots of candy.
Lots of candy. And it's important to remember the reason for Easter. Can you share with us the true reason for the holiday to you and what people at home can really gather from the Spirit and the Lord?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a great question, Erin, because when we look at the truth of the Bible, it's the fact that we all understand that we are sinful. We have fallen short of the glory of God. We don't merit salvation. We don't merit being good people. And so the truth of the Word of God is that God sent his only Son, Jesus Christ, who came physically and in body, and he came to this earth. He paid the punishment for our sins. He died on the cross.
Well, Jenna, we are thankful for you. Happy Easter. You have a brilliant legal mind and you know a lot about faith, and we're grateful for that. So thank you. Happy Easter. Appreciate your time.
Happy Easter. Thanks so much.
Up next on Wake Up America Weekend, more from the Vatican. We're going to celebrate post-pandemic and taking you there after the break. You're watching Wake Up America only on Newsmax. Welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Erin Elmore. Easter is being celebrated worldwide, and unfortunately, we are in the 53rd day of the war in Ukraine. American crime is on the rise, and economic issues are plaguing everyday working families. But here to share the Easter prayer and some hope is seminarian for the Archdiocese of Newark, Andrew Rubinich. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for being here, and happy Easter to you. Can you please tell us more about the Easter prayer?
Yeah, sure. I mean, prayer is essential to the Christian faith. And today, on a day when we celebrate the event of Jesus's resurrection.
Thank you for that. I really feel special sitting here. And we're not in the same room, but I could feel your prayers. And I just thought of people who may still be in their homes and aren't comfortable yet going to church. Do you have a special message for them?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the church is definitely incarnational. Jesus came to institute his church. So I encourage you, just as soon as you're most comfortable, to come back, since we certainly love you and miss you.
Thank you for that. You know what? I am also a mother, and I think about all of the parents out there. How can we start teaching our children about the message of Easter?
Yeah, the message of Easter is one of witness. So the best thing to teach is to give example.
Well, when we talk about the family, so many families right now are struggling with gas prices and grocery prices, and people are displaced from the war in Ukraine. So many millions of people have left their homes. How can they and all of us, everyday Americans, find hope in the story of Easter?
Yeah, the story of Easter is one where the most difficult and horrible death brought new life.
Amen. Well, you are an inspiration. Thank you so much, Andrew. And plenty more to come on Wake Up America. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
You know what it is like some people just can't take a joke anymore. They just have no sense of humor. And when you make fun of their guy, Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, they can't take it. Look, when they made fun of Sean Spicer, look, I love Sean. Sean's fantastic. He's our 6 p.m. guy here. If you're not watching him, you should.
Yes.
He is absolutely hilarious, incredibly nice guy. But when they did the SNL skit on him, it was funny.
Right. I think that's the ultimate form of flattery. And by the way, if you don't like a Ghostbusters joke, who you gonna call?
We need to calm down. SNL is just supposed to be taken lightly.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody needs to have a sense of humor. All right, thanks, Christina. We appreciate those headlines.
Thanks.
All right, folks, let's give you a quick look at today's business headlines, though. For a little help with that, let's bring in host of Watchdog on Wall Street radio show and president of Markowski Investments, Chris Markowski, and the former chief economist under President Trump, Joseph Lavorgna.
Ways that legislatively we could fix the problem.
But you're speaking of Section 230, which would give Twitter legal liability for the things that people tweet. Right now, they're immune from that liability, so they have this sort of shield and freedom to operate however they want.
Yes,
but no one in Washington on either side of the aisle has chosen to do anything about that.
Right, no, absolutely. Well, some senators have pushed that case. Josh Hawley has, for example. But what I'm saying is that if you had, and it's not just Twitter, it's all the social media companies have been able to basically editorialize and have immunity. But if you let people just basically tweet or Instagram whatever they wanted, I would argue that the ability of people to block others and to basically decide who you want it to follow, you let the market work for itself. It would probably work well. Unfortunately, that's not the case.
I mean, that makes sense. But Chris, pivoting to another financial issue, the CEO of Robinhood, an American financial services company, now saying Dogecoin, right? That's another Dogecoin, sort of like Bitcoin, could become the internet's currency. The cryptocurrency, which was created as a joke. So, Chris, what do you say here? Do you think it's time to buy some Dogecoin and the NFT world and Bitcoin? What do you think we're supposed to do over here?
Well, I'm still upset with myself that I didn't start Watchdog Coin a few years ago and tried to get involved in this racket. Dogecoin's a little bit more stable than some of the other ones. However, what exactly is it? And I kind of take the whole Tom Hanks approach in Big. If I don't get it, I'm staying out of it, and I don't get a lot of this stuff, quite.
And if you're just joining us, this is Wake Up America Weekend. It's Easter Sunday. I'm Carl Higbee.
And I'm Erin Elmore alongside Christina Thompson. It is Sunday, April 17th, Easter Sunday. Happy Easter to you.
Happy Easter.
And others are also observing Passover and Ramadan this weekend.
Yeah.
Here are some stories we are following for you this morning.
All right, so thousands turn out for the Easter Sunday Mass at the Vatican. Pope Francis delivering his Easter message this morning.
Not letting up, and it's actually getting worse. We have some breaking news out of Pittsburgh this morning. A shooting leaving at least 2 people dead.
So sad. And May is Military Appreciation Month. We're kicking it off early with some very special people dedicating their lives to Old Glory.
And I know you served in our military. Thank you for serving our country.
You know, big supporter of the troops, having been there myself. But I want to head back to the ground in Ukraine as the war continues to rage on now in its 53rd day, as some Russian media outlets are actually declaring this World War III. Yeah.
So General Erin Elmore here. Good morning and happy Easter. So how do we deal with the fact that Russian state TV, basically the arm of Vladimir Putin, is calling this World War III? How is this going to impact us here at home, and how is it going to impact the Ukraine?
So this is part of the information war that we've seen from the very beginning. It's just that the rhetoric now on the Russian side is going way up. I would liken this to the amount of desperation.
Putin doesn't have an end game.
It doesn't seem so at this point.
He has no plan.
Yeah, he's going to just be aggressive. That's his plan. All right, General
in.
Blaine Holt, we appreciate it, sir. We're going to keep this conversation going later in the
Absolutely.
show. All right, we got plenty more to cover during this Easter Sunday, so let's welcome in our weekend panel. Joining me alongside my co-host Erin Elmore is reporter for the Daily Caller, Brianna Lyman, who is usually in studio with us, but for Easter she is at home.
And now that word has lost a lot of its real meaning because people say racist.
They called Trump a Nazi all this time, and
Nazi
now,
and racist.
Yeah, these people need to get a grip. Anyway.
Yeah, well, there are true atrocities in this world.
Right.
You know, minimizing them. But Mark, it's nice to see you this morning. I'm usually on the panel with you, but I'd like to ask you a question today. Happy Easter. So I want to jump to yet another stateside shooting headline. This one out of South Carolina. 12 innocent people were injured, 10 by gunfire, in a shooting that erupted yesterday inside a shopping mall. Mark, this is happening everywhere. How do we get this under control?
I think this is a great issue where the challenge the country faces is not going to be met until we figure out a way to bridge the divide. We need people who believe in the strong protections for the Second Amendment.
Shootings.
And we're seeing it with these soft on crime DAs all across the country, Philadelphia, New York, San Francisco. Some of them are so bad, they're almost getting recalled. And part of that, Mark, is the reason why we have skyrocketing crime. It's going to take so much more to bring people back to feeling of safety. And how does this administration react here? What can they do to change the narrative? Because the crime statistics don't lie.
You know, this is one where I'm a big believer in the 10th Amendment. I don't know that Washington can do much to fight most of this type of crime. Governors and mayors really need to step up, and I'd like to see the best governors, the best mayors, not only doing what they can do to protect their own constituents, but sharing their best practices, because this is not, again, a problem Washington's going to solve.
Well, what about
Mark, we have like 30 seconds left. I was just going to ask you a quick question, and maybe this is too macro, but if you're in a blue state and you want to defend yourself, you can't even get a gun, what do people do?
Again, I think at the state level as well as at the federal level, we just need people to come together. This is a challenge. The United States should not have so much gun violence.
That's true. And places like Chicago with the strictest gun laws almost in America, skyrocketing crime.
Yeah, exactly. It is sad that we have to have this discussion time and time again. Panel, though, great conversation. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Guns all over the place. When you take away guns, you take away gun violence.
Yeah, take away guns. You don't take away gun violence. Welcome back to Wake America Weekend. I'm Carl Higbee with Erin Elmore. So the Democrats think, you know, Joe Biden obviously at the helm, have once again sought to blame the firearm for the actions of a madman. And this is in the recent round of political pandering, I guess.
For more, let's bring in the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center, John Lott Jr. John, thank you for joining us this morning.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Happy Easter. So, John, it seems that we are hearing about rising crime everywhere, all the major cities. What have you seen on your end, and why?
It's not rocket science. You look over the last couple of years, over half the inmates have been released from many jails and prisons from the United States. In some places, over 2/3 of the inmates have been released. You have district attorneys who are refusing to prosecute violent criminals.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Such an untenable problem, and I feel like the liberals are just making it worse and covering up.
Trump said it best. It's safer places when bullets can go back the other way.
Said it best. John Lott, happy Easter. Thank you so much. And coming up...
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Coming up, we're back at the Vatican, where thousands turned out for a very special Easter Mass. Alex Salvi is live after the break. You're watching Wake Up America, only on Newsmax.
We believe in capitalism here. Here to discuss is the founders of Allegiance Flag Supply, Katie Lyon and Max Berry. Welcome to Wake America Weekend.
So that's what we're all about, and that's why we started Allegiance Flag Supply.
Well, they look happy doing it. You guys are smiling. What a brilliant idea for a business. They always say do what you love, and it looks like what you guys are doing. So, Katie, how important was it for you to ensure that these flags were made here in America?
It's incredibly important. That is certainly one of our greatest pillars, is really supporting American jobs.
Wake America. I'm Carl Higbee alongside my co-host today, Erin Elmore. Let's take a look at the business issues that are facing Americans right now with former chief economist under President Trump, Joseph Lavorgna. We understand crypto. It's not based on anything. Give us a rundown of how the crypto thing works in, 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. Look, I would think of cryptocurrencies as a digital asset.
Yeah. So I want to ask Chris this question just to follow up. There's so much to talk about with inflation, but I have one more of these technology questions. Sort of NFTs. What are they and how do they work? Are they like the redheaded stepchild of crypto? I have no understanding of this.
I'm going with the redheaded stepchild of crypto. That's a great way of putting it. You know, I'm not going to invest in a JPEG. It's just not happening. Yeah. But the reality of the situation is anything when it comes to assets, it's all a belief system. If somebody believes in it, someone's going to put money in it. I've got a collection of baseball cards. So the book says that my rookie Ricky Henderson card is worth X, but somebody has to pay X for that.
Yeah.
For a while, people thought Beanie Babies were good investments. It wasn't too long ago, or Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah.
I mean, anything can have a value at it until people don't believe in it anymore.
Right.
It is broad-based inflation.
So, yeah, Chris, in our last minute here, I remember a few months ago, all the experts on television were talking about transitory inflation. Remember that? What happens to transitory inflation, and what are they all saying now?
It was the most wishful thinking thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. I mean, Donald Trump left office and he put in a $900 billion COVID package on his way out the door. Joe Biden one-upped him with $1.9 trillion. And
welcome to Wake Up America on Easter weekend. I'm Carl Higbee.
And I'm Erin Elmore alongside Christina Thompson. It is Sunday, April 17th. Easter Sunday, Passover, and Ramadan.
The whole nine. We're inclusive here.
Yeah, well, it's all going on at once, which is great. Here are some of the stories we are following for you this morning.
So thousands turn out for the Easter Sunday at the Vatican. Pope Francis delivering his Easter message this morning at the first outdoor St. Peter's Square celebration since the pandemic began. We're back to normal-ish. We're going to have a live report on that.
That's right. The COVID lockdowns in China, unfortunately, are raging on. There are now reports of food shortages, separated families, and even animals being put down. Yeah. We're taking a closer look with author Gordon Chang coming up next.
That is crazy. And meet our tough guy, a police officer and jiu-jitsu teacher, making a difference in his community, and his story coming up later this hour. It's going to be a good one because I actually roll at that gym. My kids roll at that gym. It's going to be a fantastic
I saw videos of your kids doing jiu-jitsu. They seem tough and they're really young.
Yeah. You know what? It teaches the value. Yeah. The value of, getting choked out or something like that is actually good because it teaches you to have that healthy respect for a lot of things. But
I only do Pilates. I'm useless.
Speaking of real things, though, I want to get back to on the ground in Ukraine. The war is now in its 53rd day. End up doing about this. At the end of the day, it's still a problem. We can blame it on whoever we want, right?
It's a massive problem, and this administration's absolutely doing nothing to rectify the problem. And we see this is not just a border problem now. This is impacting small communities across the United States. And the electorate, people out there don't want to see this happening. Polls are time and time again showing that this is a major problem, and this is not how people want to see migration occur.
Yeah, no, that is crazy to me. General, you know a thing or two about borders. We had to protect them all the time. Why are we so lenient with ours?
It's incredible to me. I think that Americans really should start now putting pressure on their elected representatives to go not just to the Department of Homeland Security and ask questions, but the Defense Department. This is a national security issue.
General, New York City and other huge liberal strongholds are really torturing toddlers by making them wear masks in daycare. Yet the recent exposed vice president of the United States, she can do whatever she wants. And people coming across the border, they're not wearing masks. How do you make sense of this?
It's absolutely child abuse and it's disgusting. And the state should not have the right to these emergency powers that have no science, no data, no research behind them. And yet they can attack our children. They can attack and control us. They can control what we do. That has nothing to do with our liberties, guaranteed under our Constitution, which is not suspended at this time. So
be coddled by government.
Yeah.
Certainly people on the right don't like that big government approach. But, General, do you see the hypocrisy in all this? We're on an airplane. We can take off our mask and take a bite, and then you're being ridiculed for putting your mask down. And you go to a restaurant, they make you put it on to walk to your table. Do you think that American people are fed up and they're starting to realize all of these hypocrisies?
Absolutely, Erin. I mean, we all now know that COVID can't exist at an altitude of 36 inches to 48 inches because that when you sit down in a restaurant, no COVID can touch you.
Follow the science, General.
You're living in fear.
Or they're virtue signaling how much of a better person they are than you.
Yes, you're better than me because you got 5 masks.
No, it is. I'm a guy. Even though I'm a big hunter, I'm an animal guy.
You showed me you have a bear on your property. I mean,
I have lots of bears on my property.
It's like a zoo over at Carl's house.
I do. I actually have a farm, about an hour and a half north of here, and I have lots of bears and deer and everything. I'm a steward of nature.
And raccoons.
Yeah, that is true. I got a lot of
Remember
raccoons.
you talked about that.
They're a pain, though. They eat my trash.
That's not so great. Well, thank you, Christina.
Thanks, guys.
Unfortunately, rising COVID cases have caused the CDC to go back and recommend masks in parts of New York and Philadelphia, which is my hometown. And they have that indoor mask mandate. And a lot of people are saying they're not going to comply. I'm excited to see how that happens when they say people will push you as far as you will let them. So anyway, So meanwhile, we are watching horrible conditions in the lockdowns in China and Shanghai, which is a huge urban economic center.
Right.
There are reports of food shortages, separated families, and sending, if you have COVID, to concentration-style camps, and even animals being euthanized and put down.
Yeah, for more on this, let's bring in author of The Coming Collapse of China, the Great U.S.-China Tech War, Gordon Chang himself. Gordon, happy Easter. I almost said Merry Easter, but happy Easter. Thank you for joining us on this.
Happy Easter, guys.
Yeah.
Happy Easter.
So this is crazy to me. They are forcefully, and we have some of the B-roll videos here, if we can roll these while we're having this discussion. They are literally forcing people to line up in city squares, testing them, and forcefully taking them into custody to put them in camps so that...
This is totalitarianism. I mean, in your previous segment, you talked about governments pushing people as far as people will let them. Well, of course, in a totalitarian society, it's much worse.
Gordon, it makes absolutely no sense. And you're an expert on all things China, and I follow your work closely, and I'm honestly a big fan. But I've seen videos in China of people screaming from their apartment buildings, yet we see no coverage from the mainstream media. What can we do to stop this, and why is China doing this? This isn't really about COVID now, is it?
No, it's not about COVID. It's really about Communist Party politics. And there's two reasons here. First of all, Xi Jinping, the ruler of the country, he is considered to be the author of these COVID policies. He wants a precedent-breaking third term as general secretary of the Communist Party. And he believes that any criticism, even though he probably knows his policies aren't working. But
right now, we're so reliant on China. Even, I think, over 90% of our medicines and antibiotics are made in China. But I do want to switch gears to discuss the relationship between Russia and China. So there's a headline from the Associated Press, and it says, China rejects pressure or coercion over Russian relations. Russia is being accused of war crimes, and that doesn't seem to bother China at all. How might they come out of this, and what's the end game?
Well, the end game that China wants to see is that Russia takes over Ukraine and probably marches on the rest of Eastern Europe, because Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, they are very close. They see that their interests coincide. They think the United States is both their enemies. So, you know, Russia is very much, they admire Putin for his taking on the West.
Yeah, well, Gordon, we could do multiple segments on this all day because your depth of knowledge on China is actually pretty incredible. But to you, let's welcome in the Common Sense Cowboy commentator, Patrick Dornson himself. Patrick, welcome back. Happy Easter. How are you?
Well, happy Easter. Christ is risen. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
So, all right, I want to start with some breaking news. John Durham says the CIA found data alleging Trump-Russia connection was not technically plausible and it was user-created. Patrick, our head's going to roll over this?
Well, I like the way Durham's going about this. This guy's a heck of a prosecutor. He has very few leaks, if any, from his office, and he's making darn sure that he's building a very strong case.
So, Patrick, let's jump to D.C. if we can. There's cluelessness surrounding the midterm elections, and it's becoming, honestly, quite laughable. A Republican takeover is widely anticipated, but how ugly is this going to get for the Democrats? What Democrats once all of their shortcomings are exposed?
Well, you know, all these soothsayers and wizards that live in Washington telling us what's going to happen in the election. I mean, pardon my crudeness, but they couldn't find their backside in a dark room with both hands. Extremely upset and disgusted with the elitists. And I have something to say to both parties, and it involves chickens in both cases. For the Democrats, your woke trans chickens are coming home to roost. And for Republicans, don't count your red chickens before they hatch.
Well, that's true, too. I mean, look, and the... Yeah.
Very true. Shifting gears a little bit to Ukraine, we know that Biden and Congress are sending billions in weapons over there, yet we have staggering numbers of homelessness and crime across the country, and people are struggling to put food on the table and put gas in their car. How do you think we can really rectify all of this, and what do you think will happen in the midterms because of it?
Well, I think, first of all, we're sending all this weaponry over there. And, you know, people are using World War II as an example, where we were the arsenal of democracy. We had Lend-Lease to England to give them weapons to fight the war, et cetera, et cetera. How are we going to replace all this stuff? I mean, you know, we're handing these guys all kinds of weapons. You just don't make javelins, you know, on an assembly line. You don't make, you know, M1A1 Abrams tanks, you know, like you made Sherman tanks in World War II.
A liberty-loving American
Welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Erin Elmore. Easter is being celebrated worldwide, and unfortunately, we are in the 53rd day of the war in Ukraine. American crime is on the rise, and economic issues are plaguing everyday working families. But here to share the Easter prayer and some hope is seminarian for the Archdiocese of Newark, Andrew. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me. Happy
Thanks for
Easter.
being here, and happy Easter to you. Can you please tell us more about the Easter prayer?
Yeah, sure. I mean, prayer is essential to the Christian faith. And today, on a day when we celebrate the event of Jesus' resurrection, really an event of the love of God and a love unto death.
Thank you for that. I really feel special sitting here. And we're not in the same room, but I could feel your prayers. And I just thought of people who may still be in their homes and aren't comfortable yet going to church. Do you have a special message for them?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the church is definitely incarnational. Jesus came to institute his church. So I encourage you, just as soon as you're most comfortable, to come back, since we certainly love you and miss you.
Thank you for that. You know what? I am also a mother, and I think about all of the parents out there. How can we start teaching our children about the message of Easter?
Yeah, the message of Easter is one of witness. So the best thing to teach is to give example.
Well, when we talk about the family, so many families right now are struggling with gas prices and grocery prices, and people are displaced from the war in Ukraine. So many millions of people have left their homes. How can they and all of us, everyday Americans, find hope in the story of Easter?
Yeah, the story of Easter is one where the most difficult and horrible death brought new life.
An inspiration. Thank you so much, Andrew. And plenty more to come on Wake Up America. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Little fashion things for us today.
Well, I think it's less about fashion and more about having a happy Easter. We're making a fashion statement. And we brought some for the crew. So early morning when we got here at about 5 a.m., they're all still wearing them. So they're really good sports, and you guys are too.
Folks, that's going to do it, and my bunny ears for this. So, Erin and I are going to be back tomorrow at 6:30 for Wake Up America. We'll see you then, folks. Don't go anywhere.